Hello there. I'm Rev Nhien, founder of Evolving Enneagram. If you've been seeking a compassion-based, contemplative approach to Enneagram-informed transformation, you are most certainly in the right place. This is where contemplation meets the Enneagram. So, we are in week 7 now of a 12-week Sunday Talk series based on the theme, The Care of the Soul. And we are drawing inspiration and insights from my new book, The Enneagram of the Soul, a 40-day spiritual companion for the 9 types. This week's talk is titled The How of Healing with 9 Enneagram activations. And I want to pause a moment here to just thank everyone for their prayers for my physical healing. If you're new, you might not be able to tell that my voice sounds a little funky today because I am still pretty congested and just still on very much on the path of recovery. Grateful that I can speak at all. I was actually worried this morning I wouldn't even be able to do this talk, but here I am, and here we go together. So, I'd like to take today in 2 parts. In part 1, I'd like to explore the how behind healing, drawing this acronym and this teaching from 12-step, where I learned it, 12-step model of recovery. And then in part 2, I'd like to draw from pages 176 and 78. So if you're following along, you can bookmark those pages. That's related to the activations for day 33, and the topic here is rigorous honesty in healing. I'd like to take today in 2 parts. In part 1, I'd like to explore the how behind healing, drawing this teaching from 12-step groups where I first learned it. And then in part 2, I would like to explore the activations on day 33, which is on pages 176 to 178 of your book. The topic is rigorous honesty in healing. So we'll go over each of the Enneagram types. Different from just reading it, though, I am going to read each of the 9 activations and offer some additional remarks and commentary for today. So, let's begin. As many of you already know, I started my spiritual awakening or healing journey in the 12-step recovery rooms. And in those rooms, I heard this message. I heard this mantra, maybe is a better way of saying it, which is use the how of the program. And the how that I was taught was threefold. How being an acronym, the H standing for honesty, the O standing for open-mindedness, the W standing for willingness, honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. 3 essential components to our awakening process. So let's begin with honesty. There are 2 components to this. There's self-honesty and there's honesty with others. Let's begin with self-honesty. So as we engage in this healing process, we really, there is this hardness at first of confronting the ways we've been dishonest with ourselves and admitting that something is challenging or hard, or admitting what's actually going on, right? So self-honesty involves being truthful with ourselves about basically everything, right? And the Enneagram helps us with this because it helps us to see our blind spots, right? I know that sometimes I or others will read an Enneagram description and go, oh, I do that, right? And that, again, it doesn't make you bad that you do that. But if the doing of that has caused tremendous suffering in your life, and you're now like waking up to this fact, right? That this is where the Enneagram can really support like self-honesty of like, I think there are things I didn't really, I'm like, vague about in myself. And then I read it. I was like, I do exactly that. Yes, I curate people's experiences of me. And I don't know that I would have had the words or even the guts to admit it but for like seeing it in writing somewhere. So that this is a first step. And consider that for yourself. Or maybe it's like someone in one of our groups. If you're in a group and someone admitted that they're pissed off about something and everybody else seems all fine and dandy, like just seeing that honesty in someone else can help you kind of own it in yourself, right? So self-honesty can be helped by mirrors of truth, if you will. But that's the first step. And without it, you could work so hard trying to like improve your life, but if you're not really admitting like what's actually here, it's really hard to move forward. So, honesty with others. This includes being truthful with your support network. So that might be being a little bit more candid if you're in our CPE groups. And if you've been hesitant to share certain things for fear of judgment, yes, it's risky. And yet at the same time, that's what courage is about, right? Being willing to be honest with other people. And sometimes you can be honest maybe with a group of people who don't know you well or who aren't intimate, in your life, before you can kind of get up the nerve to do that in your personal life, right? So you really consider that there might be places your spiritual mentor or counselor where you can cultivate this honesty with others and begin to share truthfully, as a starting point for sharing truthfully with everyone in your life. So that's honesty. And on a larger level, of course, honesty for me, I mean, in the 12 step model, it's recognizing your addiction, right? And so outside of that model, it might be recognizing your compulsions around a certain habit of your type to say, yeah, this is creating a problem in my life. If it's not creating a problem for you or those around you, I'm not talking about Enneagram patterns that are skillful and helpful. I'm talking about the things that you have this nagging awareness, like this is not serving my highest good, you know? Maybe it's stuffing yourself with food when you're not feeling well. Whatever it is, getting honest about yourself and being able to speak up about it with others is the beginning of healing. So that's the H. Moving into open-mindedness, the O. Open-mindedness can be seen as like a receptivity to new ideas and new, I would say additionally, new practices, right? Because the whole idea is, as they say in 12 step, your best thinking got you here, right? It's so if even if you're super, super smart and super, super hardworking, you might be like, oh, well, but I can't seem to figure out this one area of my life. Like I'm stuck here. Like all my best thinking got me here, right? So think about how you when it gets rough, you double down instead of opening to a new paradigm, opening to new approaches. And so consider, are you approaching your path right now with a sense of like receptivity and open-mindedness for new perspectives, alternative ways of thinking, suggestions from others, especially those who have experience in the exact area that you're wanting to grow, whatever it is, right? And then a receptivity to new ideas is about challenging your own preconceived notions as well. It's about questioning your own beliefs, your own biases, recognizing that your old ways of thinking, again, may have contributed to you getting you here. And so it could be as simple as family stories that have been passed down, that are limited beliefs that you just hear yourself saying all the time, like whether it's like, oh yeah, bad things always happen to us, oh, because we're the, insert last name, whatever it is, they're often like, notions and sayings that have been passed on generation to generation. You can break that cycle, right? And of course, preconceived notions come from your Enneagram type. And, like the eight's idea that it's us against them, right? Model, like being aware that you come with this model. And if you approach life through the model, then you you'll keep getting the same thing, right? You're seeing through that lens. So being open to another way of seeing the gift and the love and the support that might be already here, but you can't see it through your lens. And then next, willingness. So the W, willingness also has a twofold element. It is a commitment to change, and willingness means actually being willing to do it differently. It for me, it suggests a certain like readiness to take action, even if it's uncomfortable or it's challenging. It's a willingness to embrace like the journey and the process, even if it's temporarily even harder, more painful than what you're trying to heal from, right? And so willingness to like go through, Winston Churchill said that if you're going through hell, keep going. Keep going, right? So there's a willingness to kind of commit to the process. If you're going to like choose to try in some way, do it wholeheartedly, right? Not halfway. And then I think the deeper aspect of willingness that I have found essential to my journey is the aspect of surrender and acceptance. And this principle involves surrendering to a higher power, however you define that. And it can also involve like accepting help from others, which is something we've been exploring a lot here at Evolving Enneagram. So surrender and acceptance, right? That piece for those of you who are like me, who've been like, I've been diligent and I'm working hard, and why isn't it changing? It's that I'm trying to make it happen, right? It's like I'm still relying on myself rather than being spiritually surrendered and opened to a process and a wisdom and a love much bigger, more powerful than me in my separate ego-ness, if you will. And so those elements, how I want to invite you to consider that. And this week, if you're wanting to catalyze even deeper healing or transformation in your own life, check in with yourself. Number one, honesty. What is it that I need to get more honest with myself or others, right? Like it doesn't have to be everything. It could be my whole life is a sham, uh, but it could just be I'm not being true to myself within this career or job or in this particular relationship or with my partner, right? With my parents, or I'm not really admitting to myself there's this thing I really want. I'm scared to admit it because then I'm afraid to go for this dream, right? So, honesty. Number two, open-mindedness. Am I open to trying new ways? Just ask yourself that. Am I willing? And then what did I grow up believing that I am willing to now question? Okay. Number three, willingness. Am I willing to carve a new path for myself? Am I willing to try a new behavior? If you're in our CPE groups and you've been just kind of dipping your toe into the centering prayer practice, maybe you need to take a deeper dive in to like engage that silence and surrender practice. Maybe you can increase the amount of your practice, right? And related to this, am I still trying to control my healing journey, or am I surrendering this process to my higher power, the God of my understanding? So that big overview kind of question. Am I still trying to control my healing journey, or am I surrendering this process to my higher power, the God of my understanding? Am I willing? So that's the how. And so let's move now into some specific activations by Enneagram Type. So I'd like to open part 2 by sharing some writings from my book from pages 176 to 178. Again, this is entitled Rigorous Honesty in Healing. And I open with a quote from Father Richard Rohr. You cannot heal what you do not first acknowledge. Transformation requires rigorous self-honesty. First, we must admit to our vices and the ways we are showing up from our own woundedness and sense of separation. Second, rather than trying to put the pieces together ourselves, we invite the light of spirit to illumine our hearts and pave our way. It's vital to have faith in the process, even when things seem to be going worse for a while, trusting that if we've sincerely opened ourselves to spirit, grace is healing and transforming our consciousness, and through that, our lives. So the following activations highlights areas of our humanity that tend to be obscured depending on our type. Type 1. When you openly admit you are angry and then drop beneath to the hurt inside you, true healing can happen. Rather than ask, what did so-and-so do wrong? Ask, what need of mine wasn't being met when that happened? And how might I skillfully approach getting my needs met without having to make anyone bad or wrong? So type 1s, oftentimes you don't think it's legitimate to just be hurt about something, to feel wounded about something. So oftentimes you legitimize your hurt and its related anger by making it like some principle that someone violated. And so you move it outside of you. You're like, oh, you just shouldn't do that, right? And you become angry and try to control something out there, right? Not owning that it's really about the fact that that thing hurt you, right? Or or maybe you have, like, instead of criticizing everyone for how disorderly or messy they are and how they're not cleaning and you have to clean, you might own that, oh, I feel anxious. I feel anxious. It's my anxiety that happens when I come home from work, from a long day of work, and I'm looking around the house and things look disorderly. So if I can own that, then I'm in a place of power rather than the powerlessness of trying to make other people fix that for me. And how different would it be if I asked from this place of owning, this is my truth. Oh, I feel anxious when I come home to something like this. And it's very disturbing to my system. And then you might make a request of other people from that place, right? But there's something you need to own within that. And then, or maybe you decide that you're not going to try to change the circumstances at all, right? You might just be like, oh, wow, maybe within me there is this deep need to control everything, and I can just sit and be with myself here and just practice releasing that unto spirit, to know that spirit is in control. So for type 2, when you openly admit to being too prideful to acknowledge your own needs, whether they be your needs for assurance or guidance or even hands-on assistance, true healing can happen. Rather than maintain inequality in relationships to assure others depend on you, but you don't depend on them, see where you can develop relationships of greater mutuality and shared respect. Certainly, I notice as type 2s begin to evolve, if you will, and begin to heal, it's like as they move away from this core wound that says people won't stay, people won't care unless I can do something for them, unless I can meet a need for them. And so that opening up to receiving so that your relationships become more mutual. It's a humbling process. And at the same time that it actually leads you to have the experience of true love and respect that you've been trying to earn through selflessly giving. Type 3. When you openly admit to being inauthentic because you cover up your true feelings and needs to play the part or get the job done, true healing can happen. First, take time to recognize what is true for you. Then, rather than putting on the face you think will get the best response from everyone else, take the chance of letting at least a few select others in, even and especially if you are feeling ashamed about this part of yourself. Yes. I mean, it was in the 12-step rooms that I first learned that it wasn't just disclosing things about myself, because I was so skillful in knowing that even when things seemed negative, but I wasn't really ashamed about it, I could share it and people thought, oh, she's being so vulnerable. But it wasn't like the deepest thing. It wasn't the thing that I was actually ashamed about. But when I started being able to share what I was like, so embarrassed that I was like, I can't even be part of humanity because I've done these things or have felt these things. That's when true healing began to happen for me. And it's a practice. I know I am continuing, maybe not on that like, level, because it's at this point, like my deepest, darkest secrets have been shared. And that, that relief of not being cast out from like humanity like is so amazing. So now it's more about like fine tuning. Oh, you know, for threes, we move toward or away from relationship based on our own willingness to be real with the other person about annoyances or upsets, right? Rather than, oh, just being so fine. Enneagram 4. When you openly admit to being envious of others' happiness, true healing can happen. Happiness is not about what others have that you don't have. Rather, true joy comes from fully embracing rather than shaming all parts of you. Did you hear that? True joy comes from fully embracing rather than shaming all parts of you. The gifts of your life are unique, and no one else's good can keep you from your own. Recognizing the ways that you can sit back and assess others' lives, often from a surface level, frankly. Their social media, this and that, and thinking and fantasizing about like what they have and that you don't. You can really come to a place where, well, first, it's important for you to like confess that to yourself, right? You can finally come to a place once you've done that of going inside and going and starting to look at the parts that you feel ashamed of, that you think maybe having those things or those attributes will make you less ashamed, like more worthy. And if you don't grab for those things and instead just own your worthiness in the moment, I say just, I know it's not that easy, but it's a process. It's being open to, being willing to be willing. Spirit, I'm open. I'm open to seeing and to embracing rather than shaming all parts of me. I'm open. Type 5. When you openly admit to your fear of rejection, true healing can begin. You realize there are times you are standoffish, behaving as if you don't need someone or don't want to do something when you actually do. Recognizing that, deep down, you fear how incompetent and overwhelmed you feel trying to meet not only your own needs, not only your needs, but others' needs, expectations, and demands in all your interactions. Take a moment to honor the importance of just showing up. You don't have to take on everything. Just come to the interaction with openness, responsiveness, and patience toward others and yourself. Fives. You can too easily act all like, you're good, you're good, you got what you need, right? Like that, you don't need anything else. And you stand back, you stay back, you read your books, do your own things, have your own projects. But behind that, there is this deep fear of rejection. And when you can really see that and own it, admit it happening within yourself, then you realize this is actually not true. You're lying to yourself. That you just are so sensitive to the possibility that you might reach out to someone and then risk feeling rejected by that person not responding in the way that you hoped, right? Or not, maybe you share something personal and they didn't receive it in the way that you hoped. So this invitation is to recognize that that rejection wound can keep you from living your highest life. So being open. Type 6. When you openly admit to letting anxiety overtake you, true healing can happen. Take charge by taking 3 deep breaths and becoming aware of your physical body, noticing your hands and feet. Fear is strengthened by your attention to the future. By anchoring yourself in the sensations of your body, you ground yourself in the present moment where your tremendous courage and strength reside. So, admitting to letting anxiety overtake you. Don't let it rule you and run you and run you in your mind in circles. Instead, 3 deep breaths, become aware of your physical body. And when you don't admit that anxiety is overtaking you, you can tend to be pushier with other people. I've noticed that in 6s of like the anxiety then gets pushed like outward to like make sure everyone does it this is like that, and there's a lot of fast energy that can cause a disturbance, right? And so just kind of recognizing how you show up in the world in that space, with compassion, recognizing with compassion, but also taking responsibility and noticing again, not because there's anything wrong about you for doing that, but having a more skillful response to the moment involves being grounded in your body and not just spinning in your mind or your emotions. For the 7, when you openly admit to your fear of being internally barren and bereft of joy, true healing can happen. Letting go of thinking about the next or the new to fill that inner sense of emptiness is for you the best chance for finding true renewal. Committing to the present moment is one of the most rewarding things you can do. Give yourself the gift of cultivating a lifelong friendship through good times and hard times with the here and the now. Befriending the here and the now. So 7s, always filling your minds and your consciousness with all sorts of entertaining ideas or plans for future pleasure. There's a profound healing that happens when you don't. When you can admit and see that that's happening, that you're afraid of this inner barrenness, but instead you allow what feels like a desert inside of you to emerge. Ah, the gift of that is the gift of you being able to finally be present, which is what allows you to have real joy, right? But you think, oh, so I can't be present because like da, 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 da. Enneagram 8s. When you openly admit to how much you vigorously defend against vulnerability, true healing can happen. Weaker muscles are strengthened by exercise, and wounds heal more fully when exposed to light. Shielding parts of yourself that you fear might be used against you is one way your resistance to ever being harmed or betrayed drives you to live in a harsher reality then you need to. While not everyone has earned the right to your trust, consider being more open with those who have. And I know some very, very evolved eights out there who are doing just this already. But I want to name that. Again, these are habits of being. And sometimes we just don't even see, right? And so it's like really realizing, oh, I did that, or I acted, or I helped even, because it was a way that I protected against my own sense of powerlessness, right? And so catching that and being able to be with your own powerlessness, sense of powerlessness, can begin this journey where the spirit within starts to allow for the vulnerability that is a core part of who you are, because you are human and precious and beautiful in that way, that it allows for that part to have space in your everyday life more. And finally, the 9. When you can openly admit to the terror of feeling insignificant, true healing can happen. Engaging your fear and boldly showing up anyway will do more for your well being than escape through alternately overworking or numbing out. In this drama called life, while you resist taking the stage and thereby standing out, the truth is no one can effectively stand in for you. You are much needed and irreplaceable. You, as a 9, do well to realize that when you self censor, because oh, it was not that important anyway, so I didn't need to say it. Oh, the world is missing out on your gifts, right? Your unique contribution, your presence, your preferences. So if you think about it, the ego 9's like, oh, it doesn't matter anyway. That's more ego than soul. So that spiritual healing, this coming into wholeness for you, is really about understanding that you are needed and you are irreplaceable. With that, I'll close, and this is from my book, with a quote from St. Augustine of Hippo. And again, this has kind of religious sounding language, but I wanted you to take it and apply it to your spiritual framework. In failing to confess, Lord, I would only hide you from myself, not myself from you. Consider that all is already known in the infinite intelligence that is life, that is the fabric of existence. That your deepest, darkest secrets are already in the circle of divine love and held here. When I don't open, I'm only hiding love, divine love from me. But my deepest, darkest secrets are arguably already known and held in the universe. So somehow, maybe by opening up, I'm opening to be available to the infinite to support me. Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. Namaste. Thank you for joining me here today. A friend reminded me I need to ask if you have been blessed by this talk or by any of our YouTube talks. There is a PayPal link in the caption, and I would greatly appreciate your support, contribution in order for me to help keep these talks available free of charge here. I really hope that I am offering here something more depthful that is often what people do behind paywalls. And I'm really committed to finding a way to keep deeper spiritual, like Enneagram teachings, free to all who need them. And so offering these YouTube talks is one way that in my ministry and in my heart I seek to do that. If you're called to, no pressure if you cannot give at this time, but if you have the means to give and feel inspired to do so, I would greatly appreciate your contribution. The link is below. I will see some of you in our contemplative practices in the Enneagram groups this week. And I will see all of you, or hopefully all of you will be here next week. We might be talking about, I'm not sure yet, but we might be talking about anger. We'll see. It's really kind of up for me. Until then, blessings.